Hello, I'm Ted Elsner from the Sacramento Freifechter, and today our class is going to focus on questions of stance and footwork. So, not talking about postures, not talking about the guards, just how do we want to stand when we're going to be holding a posture or a guard. There are a few things with Meyer's system in particular that he talks about repeatedly that are going to be really important to us. So the first thing though, to get into our stance, we just stand comfortably, and then we can either just step forward or back into our stance. And what we should find, very first thing, is for our feet placement. Unless we're doing rapier, if we're doing longsword, shoulders are going to be more or less square. More importantly, hips. Don't want to close those up too much. Keep them fairly open so that we can comfortably move forward and back. If we close them too much, now we're going to have to telegraph a lot more as we step around. So keeping those hips fairly open initially. Now, as far as footwork, have that foot pointing forward or even slightly to the outside. Be careful about the turned in foot at the front that causes that knee to start to collapse, and you see that in bad posture a lot of the time with this. So, nice and comfortable. Next question, how low do we go? Well, the answer for Meyer is go as low as you can. Later on, especially in the rapier, he talks about why this is. The reason being that if you're going to deliver a thrust, you deliver it at the height of your shoulder. So if I want to thrust high, I stand nice and upright. If I want to thrust it a little lower, again, I'm going to get myself a little lower. And finally, the same idea, as low as I can get for my thrusts, always at the height of the shoulder. So practicing that low stance to strengthen the legs early is going to be important. That rule also holds with cuts when they're delivered. They're going to be delivered at the height of the shoulder, your shoulder, not your opponent. If you want to cut low, that means you got to step wide and cut low. We don't want to bend over to cut low. That puts us in a very weak position that's ready to get hit in the top of the head, pulled off balance, and so we're going to watch for that. If you want to go and see where Meyer says that specifically, if you have the Foregang translation, you can find that pages around 175, 177, and 181. Meyer talks about it in his sections on cutting at shoulder height, thrusting, and then also there's a nice warning about the cross cuts. If you can't get low enough, it's fine. It's not for everyone. So that's our first issue. The next thing, after we have our stance, we have that nice open framework, we're going to have to do some stepping. Now, we here at the Sacramento Freifechter have come up with a system of footwork. It's fairly simple, it's fairly straightforward, just some standard terminology we're going to use in the future for our different videos. Some of these are straight from Meyer, some of them are kind of our own terminology, so let's go through it. The first step is very easy. It's the passing step. The passing step can be done as a simple step forward or a simple step back, right? It's basically almost walking. Again, trying to stay low in this process. Keeping that foot forward or turned out slightly will help. Up on the toes comes in handy there. A variation on the passing step is the transverse step. So a transverse step we just referred to as a step that's forward and to the outside. So I want to step forward and to the outside. I'm going to call that a transverse step. That too, like the other ones, can be done with either foot, stepping to the outside. The next one that's occasionally shows up in some of Meyer's plays is what we call the crossing step. For this case, my back foot's going to cross in front of my front foot, and we'll get kind of this spot where we're, kind of crossed up. We're not going to stay here. We will, as a rule, come out of it, but that'll be our basic crossing step. So again, it passes in front and then opens out. Usually we're changing our angles in the process. Other linear footwork, we do a gather step where we gather our feet together and then step forward, or gather back and step back. Another variation we'll sometimes have is the shuffle step, where the front foot extends and the back foot comes back, or the rear extends and then gets together. That pretty much covers the linear steps. Then we get into steps to the side. Now, the first one that shows up is from Meyer, his triangle step, where he says, stand with your right foot before your opponent and step with your left foot behind the right. And this is the single. So we go, and now we've changed our angle, and we have our basic triangle step. There's also a double triangle step, which in this case starts with a bit of a step out to the side, then we step behind, and then we finish by opening back out. Again, looking in a circle. I mentioned as part of that I started with the step out, so that is the next step. If I say step out, I'm talking about the front foot stepping out, either straight out or out and towards my opponent. Either situation is fine. Again, it can be done either foot forward, I can step out to the side, or out and forward as the case may be. A step in is just the opposite of that, where I will step in with my front foot. I might step in and across to then open back up. I might also step in forward, especially if I'm going to be stepping into a cut to block it. Again, to either side. And the final step that we'll have is just the step in with the rear foot, where we can bring it up to potentially change our guard back and forth, as the case may be. So those are just some of the basic footwork that we're going to be using in future videos. So when we're describing plays and we use that terminology, we will be sticking to that. Please feel free to ask any questions in the comments, and have fun training some Meyer.